We want to welcome you all to the opening of the Vanishing American Diner. Chuck went through many versions of the title of this show, and in case you didn't notice, his Cordon Bleu or Diner Bleu is a takeoff on the exquisite food that you have at diners. So this started when Chuck decided to get involved with the artist registry at our museum. And I went by his studio and looked at some of his work, and it was very impressive. Of course, Chuck has a following, and I knew he did excellent work. But way back in somewhere, there was a diner image, and I kind of said...
There was one diner image.
Yeah, one diner image, and I said, do you have more of these? And that was the birth of the diner show. It is, I think, such an important statement of the changes in our society, and it's really emblematic of so many things that are vanishing, and so much individual personal contributions, fresh food that's going the way of corporate America. So for those reasons, but also for the quality of the photography and the importance of the people that work and participate and eat in these diners, this is a tribute to them. I would like Chuck to tell us a little bit about how he got inspired to document diners.
Well, it really started off just as a fun project, just a hobby. I'd seen this book where there were paintings in the book that I thought were photographs. They were so realistic, and I'm reading the text, I'm like, oh my God, this is a painting. And these paintings were 4 foot, 5 foot, they were enormous, and the detail was just superb. So I thought, oh, okay, perhaps I'll go out and just take some casual snapshots of exteriors. And that's all I wanted to do, was just, if I were driving by, I'll see a diner, jump out of the car and take a photo. And then I showed about a half dozen photos to a friend of mine, and he looked at them and says, Chuck, these are okay, but you have to go inside. And I kind of looked at him, I was like, what do you mean go inside? He says, that's where the action is. You have to get pictures of the people, the patrons, the workers, whatever. And I said to him, I don't want to do that. And then he said, well, why not? And I said, because that means I have to go inside and eat this stuff. Because, you know, I didn't feel right just running inside, taking some photos and leaving. You have to sit and talk and schmooze and whatever. So then he convinced me, Chuck, if you're going to elevate this to the next level, you have to do this. So I said, reluctantly, I said, all right. But then again, I never thought of it as a show in the end. It was just still a fun thing to actually do, meaning that, you know, since I photographed candids and street photography and whatever, this is just an extension of that, but it's an enclosed space. So I go in these diners and I just would sit there, order coffee or eggs or whatever, and pretty much mind my own business and take out the camera and I shoot the server or the cook, whatever, and sometimes I would get a positive response. They would do this, or sometimes they would do this. And each diner was different, and I just kind of got the feel of the diner.
You do a lot of wonderful photography, but there's something about these. I think you're particularly inspired. Can you tell us any more about what it is?
Well, I think partially I'd seen several diner books, and the diner books I had seen showed these images that were so sweet. I mean, everybody's in the diner having a good time, whatever. And I thought, well, these are obviously posed or setups or whatever, because diner life is not, hi, how you doing? You know, everything's hunky-dory. And I like to see life as it really exists. And if you sit in a diner long enough, you can see the stress and the tension and the ennui of just people in there. So it's life as how it is. And I was trying to show that in some of the photos.
Can you tell us what you hoped people would get out of looking at these? What kind of reaction could you predict?
I had no idea that this was going to be such a popular show. I thought to myself, who cares about diners? You know, I thought I was the only one that cared about them, but then I'm so pleasantly surprised and honored that I had all these friends and guests and other people that I've never met before come in and enjoy the show.
When we were talking about it, you commented that you ate a lot of food.
I ate a lot of food. Some of it was good, some was bad. Most of it was your typical diner food, and anytime I was in doubt, I would order ham and eggs, home fries and toast. I figured, how can you mess that up, right? So that I had a couple of bad experiences with food, and then there's several good experiences. I had a really nice prime rib and a really good breakfast. And then sometimes I'd go to a diner when it was really in doubt. I'd look around and it looked pretty greasy and grungy. I'd order a cup of coffee and a slice of pie. That was pretty safe. In fact, I had one pie at a place that I don't know where they got it, but it took 20 minutes and there's nobody in the place. And I thought, okay, perhaps I'm the only person that ordered the pie and he had to run across the street to the gas station to get it or something. But I ate it because the owner was there and he was friendly, and he showed me pictures of the diner back in the 40s, and so I had to schmooze with him. And after I left, I said, well, okay, I had to sacrifice my GI tract on that one.
Do you remember which diner that was?
Yes, it's the one with the two gentlemen sitting here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The owner and the chef.
Yeah, the owner and the big fellow here.
Yeah.
But he was really nice.
Good.
And because I walked in with the camera, and he looked at me, and he looked at the camera, and he didn't say anything. And then I'd be sitting on the stool, and I would stroll around, take a couple of shots, and then he came over and actually engaged me. He said, "Hey, what's with the camera?" In a nice manner. And I didn't really let on to tell him that I was on a project. I said, "Oh, I just like old diners." He said, "Oh, okay." And he runs in the back, and he gets his old photocopy of the history of the diner when it first was built. In 1940 something, it was all old and faded, and he had it underneath a little plastic page, and I was looking at it, and I don't know if I was supposed to keep it or give it back to him, but I read it and I took a photo of it and I gave it back to him, and that's when I ordered the pie, because I figured I better do it.
You owed him a pie.
Yeah, I better eat something here, but.
You mentioned generations. You told me once that there were families and they talked about how their father had built it, or their grandfather.
In fact, Tom and Joe's, which I have on the wall here, his name is George, the owner, and I don't know what his last name is, but he's the grandson of the person who started it, and he says that the diner had been around for 80 years. Now, I don't know if it was in the same spot, and I don't know the exact history, but he said that they've been owning this place for 80 years. And he tried to sell it 2 years ago, but nobody would want to buy it. So he's still there. And it's a tough business. He's there, well, they open at 6. I was there one morning at 6 o'clock, and I was the first person in there, and they close at 2. So God knows what time he has to be there just to prep the food, but it's a tough life.
Who do you remember most when I say that to you? Well, who comes to your mind?
As far as
somebody you met in a diner.
Oh, this homeless man who's sitting here. Here I am, I'm eating this expensive breakfast. He's just having a good old time, and then I saw this man sitting next to me, and we started a casual conversation. And I said to him, you know what? I've been to a lot of diners, eating places, and if there's a homeless person there, they give him a cup of coffee and a pastry or whatever. And he looked me in the eye and he says, well, I'm homeless. So what do you say? He caught me completely off guard, and I don't think he was looking for a handout, but I felt badly for him, and I gave him some bread, whatever. But yeah.
What about families? I've heard that sometimes the kids are sitting, sleeping behind the counter, and you didn't encounter any family situations? No,
I didn't encounter too many of those, mainly because a lot of times I was there at weird times of day.
Yeah.
Yes, 6 a.m. you don't see too many families, and then most of the diners that I was at, they weren't tourist type diners. They were the neighborhood, local diners where the same patrons would eat there all the time. So it wasn't something that I would say, hey, Pat, let's jump in the car and drive 3 hours because this is a great diner. It's none of that. It was just the opposite. And that's why a lot of these are dying, because there's no support from the outside. You get the big corporate restaurants, the IHOPs and the Perkins right down the road, and people feel safe eating there because they know what to expect. It's corporate and it's clean to a point, sanitary, whatever, but you go to your local neighborhood diner, you don't know what to expect. In fact, anytime I go into one of these things, I don't expect anything food-wise that's going to be of quality, and anytime I get something good, I'm very pleasantly surprised.
Tell us about some of the photographic challenges, because I know you did so many in the evening and night shots. And
The very first shot that I had taken on a road trip was the one straight behind you, the Miss Mendon. And I started off, I started off in State College on a Friday afternoon. That was my first trip up to New England. I've done 4 trips to New England. So I'd driven about 7 or 8 hours. It was raining the entire time. I get to the New York border and Connecticut and Massachusetts. It was raining. And I thought to myself, Chuck, why am I doing this? I'm driving all this time. I don't know where I'm going, and it's raining. So I get there, and I don't know what the time on the clock is. It's probably 9 o'clock. And I'm standing in the rain. I said, wow, just look at the reflection in the water. Maybe I've gotten something here. So I took half dozen shots of that, and then they have a giant neon sign that says Miss Mendon with an arrow, whatever, but I thought that was a little bit too distracting. I just wanted the diner itself. And I should have gone in, but see, at that time, it hadn't dawned on me to go inside and eat.
I hope people notice the one with your selfie in it. I love that one. If you didn't see this one, by the way, it's back over here in this corner. Tell us about that one.
Well, this was the interior of one of the Streamliner diners, and the Streamliner diners is of that shape. And there's only 2 of those left that are still operating as a diner. And I understand the third one is in a junkyard someplace. So anyway, I'm inside this diner, and I said to myself, well, I don't have a picture of myself anywhere on this trip. So I'm standing there shooting this photo, and they're patrons. I figured, oh, this is kind of a neat photo with me and the patron. So I was probably there for a minute or 2. I took several ones. I kept on looking at it, didn't like them, and kept on looking at it. And so finally, somebody tapped me on the shoulder and says, hey, buddy. And I look around and says, you know, I can take a picture of you if you really want it. So I kind of laughed. I said, okay, yeah. So I posed for him and took the picture, and I thanked the man and whatever. But you see, he had no idea what I was trying to do, but that was kind of an interesting story.
That's good. My favorite is Miss 1960s over here. Now, I know you didn't take that in the 60s, but she is beautiful, and she's just, you see the one I meant, the blonde with all the heavy eye makeup?
Oh, the server at Tom and Joe's. That was my first trip to Tom and Joe's, and again, I was sitting right behind the cook, and there's this young lady who knows how old she is. She's had always eye makeup on, who knows if it's real blonde hair, whatever. Anyway, she looks like the, how do you pronounce it? Quintessential, yeah. Okay, diner waitress, and she's wiping the counter. And I took one shot. I wish I had a click, whatever, and it's close enough in focus, but she wouldn't engage me. As soon as she heard the camera click, she just walked off and whatever. And I tried to follow her around visually, but she avoided me the entire time. And,
I didn't know
but
that.
yeah, that was a one shot. In fact, all of these, well, 99% of them were just one click of the shutter, and that was it.
What about these 2 we positioned over here with the 3 and then the fellow on top? Tell us about those.
Oh, Josh. I didn't know that Josh was such a popular person. He's a server at a diner in State College, and I've only been in that diner 2 times, and I didn't think that diner was part of what I wanted because it looked too new. Yeah. But he's a server, and he's got the apron and a little paper hat on top of his head, and he's got maybe 8 or 9 pens. So I'm sitting there, and I said, Josh, how about a photo? And he goes to attention, whatever, and he hits his pose, and I took 2, and I was just so shocked that anybody would pose for me that I took 2, and it was close enough that I liked it and whatever. But I was quite surprised that people knew who he was, and
I think we're all interested, I know I am, in why people focus on things, why they decide that something is important to them, why they collect it, why they go back to certain places. Can you tell us more about what it is about diners?
I go there for the people. I think it's more about the people as opposed to the actual architecture. But it didn't start that way. It really began as just a recording of the outside of the building. And
maybe how those people are framed, too, in the architecture. Because you don't get the same feeling if you walk in McDonald's, right? Or do you?
Well, that's a whole different clientele,
Yeah.
and that's a whole different workforce. There's several people, excuse me, several people in these photos that have worked in the diner, or that particular diner, for 30 years. Now, I can't imagine anybody working 30 years at a quote-unquote dead-end job that you probably have no benefits, making minimum wage of that. But why do people stay there? Are they comfortable working there? I don't know. In fact, I think about myself. I've been doing this for 30 years, and, and I question my sanity.
We think you're producing quite well.
Well, I don't know.
By the way, I just heard that Chuck was a grandfather for the third time just a couple of weeks ago. 2 children, 3 grandchildren?
Two children, 3 grandchildren.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm honored and humbled that I was given the opportunity to do
Very
this.
good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.